And guess who's delivering those messages? The Patrick Mahomeses, the Tom Brady's, the Lisa Leslie's, the Dr. Oz's. So we have over 250 1 to 3 minute videos where kids can go online and hear from some of the most famous people in the world, talking directly to them about how they can make their life better, how they can set goals, how they can pick the right friends, how they can deal with peer pressure. Our kids need hope today, Michelle.
They
Since
sure
COVID,
do.
kids have lost hope. And
They
that's
sure
why they
do.
turn to drugs and alcohol. So these things are connected.
Imagine you have a kid with a glorious future ahead, a teenager who's doing well in school, doesn't drink, hangs out with good friends, but just one time makes a tiny mistake by taking a pill and winds up dead. I know that's morose, but it sort of needs to be said. Fentanyl has done that to a number of families. And you're hearing from Roman Gabriel III. Yes, he is the son of the great Rams quarterback, Roman Gabriel. And he is the CEO of SoldOut Youth Foundation, which is a 501c3 that does online fentanyl education. So we're going to talk to him today about how he got into this and how dangerous this drug is. And he is a great resource. His foundation is a great resource for parents, for schools, for kids. So I'm excited for you to hear from him. Please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube or wherever, Rumble. Just go ahead and hit subscribe. It does not cost you a thing. We'd love to have you with us for every interview that we do. Roman Gabriel III is the son of the late, great Rams quarterback, and he is on a mission to save kids. I hope you'll listen. You know, there are some risks in life that you can protect yourself against, and there's a lot of risk in the world with wars, with things that are unfolding that we don't even know about, with a Chinese U.S. Treasury hack, lots of stuff going on. I want to introduce you to American Independence Gold, because why would you want to gamble with your financial future? Regardless of who is in office, with who's in the Senate, with who's in Congress, safeguarding your wealth is essential. And you can take an active role in this. Many of us are in a state of hope right now and optimism, but we know that stuff is going to come up, hurdles are going to come up, and relying solely on digital systems or banks is a risk you can't afford to take. So American Independence Gold. How do you find them? Just go to tafoyagold.com, Tafoya gold.com. You can also call them at 833-324-4653, because for generations, gold and silver have been the ultimate safe haven, weathering wars, recessions, market crashes. And this is more than just owning gold. It's about taking control of your financial future. And as a proud veteran-owned company, American Independence Gold goes the extra mile. They support military families. They cover custodial fees for life on qualifying accounts, and they donate a portion of every purchase to the Tunnels to Towers Foundation. Don't wait to secure your future. Act now before it's too late. Visit tafoyagold.com, Tafoya gold.com to learn more, or call 833-324-4653. 833-324-4653. Again, tafoyagold.com. Make a smart move for your future today at tafoyagold.com. Roman, it is great to see you. I know it's been almost a year since the passing of your father, the great Roman Gabriel, who's depicted behind you in that glorious fat head. I'm sure that you must miss him every day.
Well, Michelle, my dad had a big impact in my life. When I was very young, when my dad was playing for the Rams, he took me to football camps, and he took me to, police and military functions and all sorts of charitable things. And one of the things he said to me was, it's really important that you give back. It's really important to take care of the next generation of kids. And so I would not be doing what I'm doing with my foundation today, and having an experience, my wife and I, since 1997 in public schools, working on drug and alcohol abstinence training and fentanyl education, if it had not been my dad showing me the way when it came to charitable giving. And, he worked with a lot of other athletes and Hollywood celebrities. And Michele, a lot of people don't realize that my dad and Joe Namath during that time were really the first full-time NFL players that made enough money to where they could go out and do PR and marketing and take advantage of opportunities, celebrity opportunities for commercials and movies. So they really were kind of pioneers in the early NFL to what has become an incredible opportunity for players today.
It really has. I mean, we have the Walter Payton Man of the Year award each year, and it highlights so many of the good works that these players are doing now. It seems like every professional player who's making good money has a foundation, and there's nothing wrong with that. How did you choose your direction? Because there are so many areas of need in the world that you and I were talking about off air. So how did you choose this one?
Well, my dream when I was 7 years old was to be like my dad and play professional football and to be a quarterback. My dad played 17 years. When I was born, a sophomore in college, he was playing football. When I was senior in high school, he was playing football. So I thought that all NFL players played 17 years. I didn't know any different. I mean, that's what I grew up with. It was a football home. So I had the opportunity to play a couple years, and I came into the league with the Raiders as a free agent, and then in the USFL in Boston had a neck injury that took me out. So I had an opportunity I really didn't get to do and to reach my dream, past that point. But I was thankful to have made it there through a lot of hard work. And my dad was a big part of that. My mom was a big part of the academics part and the people part. She was fabulous as well. So I started working with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes when I was in college. So my wife and I in 2003 joined the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, working full-time for them. And they had a program called One Way to Play, Drug and Alcohol Free, that we worked with Coach Bill Snyder at Kansas State, worked at Arkansas when we were there, and with college football programs and boosters to create a program for athletes where they pledged to be drug and alcohol abstinent as student athletes. So that's where we were introduced to that. I really loved it because you interacted with corporates, boosters, and with coaches and players. And soon after that, living in Wilmington, North Carolina, my dad's hometown and my parents' hometown, I was asked by an FCA director to go into high schools with him in the summer and speak to high schools and coaches. So after that, we started our own foundation after working with some other organizations, because I had a vision to want to use sports as a springboard to reach young people. And then that's when I got into the sports media, doing our own radio show in 1994. And then, a national show, working with Sports Byline USA. I was reporting and covering stories for the NFL at the Super Bowl, and started working with Sports Spectrum magazine. And what I found, Michele, was that, I liked the day-to-day of covering the games and, all the details around sports, whether it was NASCAR or football or basketball, because when you're doing a talk show, 3-hour 1-800 call, and you got to know everything.
You do, that is for sure.
I know, you know that. And
Yep.
But what I found as I began to interview athletes and coaches was I really was intrigued by their stories, not so much about their talent on the field,
Right.
but the platform and how they influence people's lives. So we were kind of one of the first Super Bowl groups. I remember in 97, I interviewed Reggie White, and Reggie was on the cover of Sports Spectrum, the interview I did with him. It was the first time that they put the magazine in all the hotels in the Super Bowls. And you remember Reggie was very outspoken about his faith and really was kind of the pioneer of opening up that space. And then, of course, the Kurt Warners came along and the Tony Dungys. But what we found was the players really had a passion to share their stories. So even though I still do a podcast and do sports and do the Super Bowl, it's all about interviewing guys and letting them share their passion about what they're all about, faith, family, and football. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got interested in doing what we do now. And when we moved to be closer to our grandkids in Boone, North Carolina, where Appalachian State is, I started working with the Appalachian State football team and with head coach Jerry Moore, who's an incredible coach that won 3 national championships. And so basically what we did was We formed our own foundation back in 2008 called the SoldOut Youth Foundation. And our goal was to use sports and entertainment as a way to reach young people, to help them reach their full potential and to do it drug and alcohol abstinent.
How'd you come up with the name Sold Out Youth? Hey, just because it's cold outside doesn't mean you have to stop grilling. As a matter of fact, I would encourage outdoor in the cold grilling. It is, and especially if you have the right grill. Now, here's where we get to the good stuff. That would be a Solaire infrared grill. Solaire infrared grills heat up in just 3 minutes. That is a fact. They perform equally well in the cold of winter as they do in the heat of summer, and they grill food much faster. The Solaire infrared grills heat your food directly, not the air around the food like conventional grills do. The intense heat also results in the juiciest food you will ever taste from any kind of grill. I'm talking gas, charcoal, or otherwise. To get the great taste, it's all in the heat in Solaire infrared from besthotgrill.com. It gets hotter than anything you've ever experienced during the season, so you should use it in the cold as well. Try the Solaire infrared grill now with the demo program. Don't be left out in the cold. Here's where you learn more about these USA-made Solaire infrared grills. That's one of the best things made right here in America. besthotgrill.com. besthotgrill.com. Just go to besthotgrill.com. Try it before you buy it. And how'd you come up with the name Sold Out Youth?
When you're playing football, your coaches always tell you, I expect everybody to sell out on the field for your teammates, that it's going to require 100% of yourselves. So what we wanted to get across to kids is that it takes more than just a minimum effort. You got to maximize your passion and dreams. You got to equip yourself to reach your dreams and goals. And the only way you do that is learning the life skills, setting goals, learning the things that you need to learn that don't happen academically in the classroom. And a lot of that, as you know, is extracurricular activities in sports, sets that tone. And it's really the last bastion on our campuses where they can learn that team concept, because everything in our society is all about me.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2010, I was working in Boone, North Carolina, and I was approached by a group of businessmen in town that said that the DARE program had been defunded, and we still want our kids to have a drug and alcohol program. We think that's important. So I told them I had experience doing it. If you guys want to fund it, I'll be glad to put it together. So we did. We started in 3 counties. It grew in 3 years to 40 counties in North Carolina in public school districts, and then we're working with state governors. Now we're working with state public safety officers and school districts, and we're also working with the federal government. Through some programs we're getting ready to get involved with. So for us, it fell together. And what we found is that kids were wanting to be accountable. They were wanting to know about drugs and alcohol. And then, of course, COVID hit in 2018, and that changed everything. We were shut out of schools because we were doing assembly programs. So our grants dried up, obviously. And we went to our school partners we've been with 6-7 years. They helped us to develop our program into a 100% online program for social distance learning. And we tested it for COVID during the 2 years. And what happened after the schools came out of COVID was they liked our program better because it was less intrusive. They didn't have to take the kids out of the classroom. It didn't require, a lot of work from the school standpoint, and it worked with the computer curriculum. So we're a post-COVID success story. So now, rather than being one place at one time, where you can only see one district of schools kids, because I would spend 3 and 4 days in school districts going to 3 or 4 assemblies a day. Now we can reach hundreds of thousands of kids through an online program on their phone. The current program is great because not only do we train every staff and administrator, but we train every parent through the portal that they use, that we send to all parents with all the drugs their kids will come across, and educating them about the poison fentanyl. And then we're also able to work with the students through a simple 8-minute video presentation in homeroom, elective class, or PE health, where the kids learn all about fentanyl and the fact they can't use their phones to buy anything online, these fake fentanyl pills that are killing our kids. And it also teaches them to help their other student friends not to take something from someone they know who they think they can trust, or to go online themselves and order a pill or vape or whatever it is. And then through the athletic programs, we have a program where we work with the high school football, basketball, and baseball teams through their cable and radio partners, where we deliver PSAs on fentanyl and Narcan naloxone nasal spray, working with the county commission, the health department, SRO officers, school nurses, caseworkers. So it really is a community campaign where now you're empowering people with the information, so you get over the stigma, get over the misinformation and politicization. What I tell people is this is not a red and blue issue. It's a red, white, and blue issue. This should not be political. This is a health crisis. Yeah. We have 114,000 people that died last year, and a plane load of people dying a day, and it's preventable, Michele. And that's why I'm so proud of President Trump and his administration for wanting to put together a national campaign to where we can get this information to every American, so I don't have to be talking to angel moms and dads who lost their kids accidentally.
Yeah, it's it's such a pernicious drug. How do you start with kids? Because look, kids in high schools, they think they know everything. They don't really like listening to authority all of the time. They think they're just too cool for school. But you're saying that you find kids who really do want to be accountable. Certainly athletes, some are of a different mold because they live a structured life and they are motivated to achieve and to accomplish their goals. But when you're dealing with kids who are a little bit lost, how do you start?
Well, the statistics, Michele, are real clear that if you can get parents to start discussing drugs and alcohol with their kids in grade school, then they're about 50% less likely to try drugs and alcohol in high school. So what we do is it's a K4 through K12 program. Say, well, isn't that kind of young, K4? No, because parents are giving their kids cell phones in the 4th and 5th grade. They think they're giving them a safety item so if they get in trouble, they can call mom or dad. But what they don't realize is through Snapchat and TikTok and through social sites, the kids get around the safety protocols, and they're being approached by these dangerous cartels and these bad actors with these fake fentanyl pills and other recreational drugs. So parents are making the mistake. That's why it's the number one killer of 18 to 48-year-olds, number two killer of 5 to 14-year-olds. Right now, 5 to 14-year-old deaths are up 1,400% since 2021.
And what's scary about that is, in spite of all these efforts, and in spite of, you hear it again and again, at least I do. Maybe I listen too closely and others don't listen closely enough. I don't know. But you hear about the numbers of people overdosing on fentanyl, that it's being snuck into other drugs. Yet the numbers stay so high. How do you chip away at that, I guess is the question. Getting a good night's sleep is a huge problem for a lot of people today, and that includes me, but I have found something that I really believe works. It works for me, and if it doesn't work for you, you can get your money back. I'll start with that little tease. It's not a prescription. It's not a drug. It is a topical cream that you apply. I put it on at bedtime. I'll put it on the insides of my forearms, maybe the bottoms of my feet. It's really simple, and it smells really good too because it's got essential oils. It's a CBD-based product, and I was a skeptic. And then I tried it for a couple of nights. I was like, man, this stuff works. The company is Sleep Cream. They use all natural CBD combined with the finest essential oils. Like I said, I just apply it when I'm ready to put my head down and go to sleep, and just try them at sleepcream.com, CREME.com. Try them for a couple of nights. If it doesn't work for you, they will refund your purchase guaranteed. You don't have to return anything. Go to sleepcream.com, sleepcreme.com. And for the next few weeks, use the code GAMEDAY, all one word, GAMEDAY, at checkout to get free standard shipping on your first order. That's the code GAMEDAY. Are you ready for your best sleep ever? Sleep, CREME.com. Use that code GAMEDAY. How do you chip away at that, I guess is the question.
Well, it has to be a massive education campaign, and that's what we're missing. So I'll give you an example. During COVID, the government spent hundreds of millions of dollars with PSA programs. medical programs. Still, they're pushing boosters for children. And we only had a handful of children die from fentanyl. We have kids dying all across the country from accidental overdose. At my event 2 weeks ago, I had Ann Funder. Ann is a angel mom who lost her 16-year-old son Weston to accidental fentanyl pill. And she spoke at the Republican National Convention and has been speaking at the Trump rallies the last year. And Ann shares a story. I talked to my son about it. He went to a private school. He was a Christian. He was a surfer, a football player, a great kid, a good student. He went to his first public school, and he made one poor mistake with a friend who had a Xanax pill that looked like a real pharmaceutical pill. Well, when they took the pill, half went to his friend without the fentanyl, and the other half went to Weston. And Weston died from making that one poor decision. So we're not talking about fentanyl addicts. That's a problem. We're talking about innocent kids and parents who don't know that this poison could be in pills, could be in a fake gummy, could be on a piece of paper that you touch, because you can take it tactily through your bloodstream that way, or take it in through the nose. So this is different from the cocaine problem in the 70s, a drug problem. This is a poison that's odorless, tasteless, and cheap. And we have so much stockpiled in the country over the last 4 years. And I want to compliment President Trump for closing down the border, for going after the bad actors, the cartels. But in talking to people like Tom Homan and Derek Maltz, they believe that our only long-term answer, because regardless if you closed it shut now and not one bit of fentanyl came in, there's enough stockpile in the country to kill people 1 and 2 times over.
Well, what do they do with that? Is there a way to destroy this stuff without hurting anyone?
You got to find it. And when I talk to ICE agents, and I was on the border last year in Nogales on the Tucson sector, and have spoken and spent time with the Southern Border Patrol, across the southern border, they hide these chemical plants that make the fentanyl. And because our Southern Border Patrol agents were babysitting people coming through the main arteries, they were getting the fentanyl in through places that the patrol weren't able to be. And these are smart people. They're well-funded. And so it's going to take the manpower that President Trump's putting, the military, ICE, cooperation, a lot of money. But we're spending more money on keeping them in the country and housing them, giving them free cell phones, and putting them up in motels. So the bottom line is we don't have an education campaign in place. So, for example, today, your entire audience, if you go to soldouttv.com, our website, our public site, at the top of the page, if you click on fentanyl education, we have a complete fentanyl education program for you as parents. You can take that link, send it to all your neighbors, send it to your fellow workers, go over it with your kids. There's videos, there's research material from people like the CDC, private organizations. We have partnered with other private and public organizations to bring that information into one easy to deal with platform. And here's the beautiful part, Michele. Most people are uncomfortable talking about this. It's a stigma. So we've overcome that. Now you can learn about it in the comfort of your own home on your own private device, right there in the privacy of your home. So you don't have to worry about someone looking down on you or politicizing it or pointing a finger or talking about, maybe someone in your home has a fentanyl problem because you're talking about it. And that's what first responders are dealing with all the time, is the stigma. So in our society, people take in a lot of tough information through their cell phones. They're comfortable with it. Our program was made for the cell phone, so you can get around in it. You can send the links out, and so you don't have to talk about it. And what's the fastest way to disseminate information? Through the internet, through our cell phones.
Yeah. Well, that's a great resource for people to know. We'll put it in the show notes as well, soldouttv.com, right?
And you can go to fentanyl education. The other thing is our school program has a full parental education program that's risk mitigating for the schools. We have a training program for school counselors and staff administration. And then all of our programming for kids is visual. And guess who's delivering those messages? The Patrick Mahomeses, the Tom Brady's, the Lisa Leslie's, the Dr. Oz's. So we have this, over 250 1 to 3 minute videos where kids can go online and hear from some of the most famous people in the world, talking directly to them about how they can make their life better, how they can set goals, how they can pick the right friends, how they can deal with peer pressure. Our kids need hope today, Michele.
They
Since
sure do.
COVID, kids have lost hope. And
They
that's
sure
why they
do.
turn to drugs and alcohol. So these things are connected.
It's good to hear that all these influencers are helping out. I mean, that is no, no, parents like to believe that they're the ones that are going to deliver all the messages, and certainly we can control a certain amount of what our kids hear. But when you have people that they admire speaking out in this way, in a way that is, like you said, A, hopeful, and B, informative about this stuff that is really scary out there. My God, to think that a child can make one bad decision, and maybe it's under peer pressure, or maybe it's in a new environment or whatever, and a parent can lose their child to that, is it's bone chilling. It's absolutely staggering.
Well, if I could talk directly to your moms and dads out there, please go to the fentanyl page, learn what you need to learn so you can have this discussion. And it needs to be an ongoing discussion with your children. They'll appreciate it. And the response we get through our follow-up programs, Michele, this is what the students say. We're so appreciative that you gave us information on fentanyl. We didn't know. Thank you for letting us know. Number two, thank you for letting us know that we can't use our cell phones to purchase anything online unless it's from a pharmacy. And then number three, now that I know, I can help my friends to stay safe because I don't want to see them die either.
It's such a tenuous time to be a kid. It's such a difficult time. You're right. COVID did a lot of damage. There's a lot of ideology out there that kids are confused and often not getting what they need at home, and certainly often getting too much of what they don't need at school. And this is something they do need. So I congratulate you. I want to hear about that fat head behind you, because that's your
Yeah,
dad. That's your
yeah.
dad. That's Roman Gabriel, who played for the Rams when I was a kid. And I have a friend who was a huge Rams fan who named his son Gabriel after
There
your
are a
dad.
lot of them out there. I meet a
Yeah.
lot of Romans and a lot of Gators. I meet dogs that were named Roman. And Michele, let me just say this. I thought I knew my dad pretty darn well. But since his death, I have received so many emails, texts, social networking with people sending me stories about how my dad touched them just for a short meeting, or they saw him and met him and he spent time with them, and how much joy he brought them when they went to the Coliseum to watch the Rams play. And so the fathead's a really cool thing because, when my dad died, I wanted to honor him. And one of the reasons why I honored him is he made the quarterfinals, the top 60 of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I'm real proud of that. We're continuing to work. And let me thank people like Vic Carucci, Dick Vermeil, others that love my dad, that want to see him in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I talked to Roger Goodell 3 years ago. He said, yeah, we need to get your dad in the Hall of Fame. And of course, he was the first Filipino quarterback or Asian quarterback in the NFL history. And he was a guy who set the tone for big quarterbacks, strong quarterbacks. I always like to say that, my dad was a Josh Allen before Josh Allen. He was a guy who was big and strong, who could stand in the pocket, who was an athlete, who could run, who could make plays on the run, and who was very difficult to sack. And so I just want to thank everybody, because so many heartwarming stories that I've heard, and the Rams have been so great. They honored my dad at the first game this year and brought us in for that. It was a wonderful memorial for him. And so I was connected with Chris Hetherington, who's the CEO of Fathead. And Chris is a former NFL player, Yale graduate, played with the Panthers, the 49ers, Falcons, and Raiders at fullback and for 10 years. And Chris and I got together, and I said, Chris, I've been on your website, and you have Joe Namath and Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw and all these wonderful legends. Would you be willing to design a legends for my dad, for him? And he said, man, would that be awesome. So he let me design it, come up with the photos. And it's old school, Michele, for all the old school Rams fans, white and blue uniform, old school Rams horns logo, LA Rams block letters. So we have a mini that's going to be coming out. We have a big head behind me. We have a life-size stand-up. We've got a whole sticker life-size set. And the Fathead is going to be with me down at the Super Bowl. So we've got some big news coming, and you'll be the first one that I call to let you know about the campaign that we're getting ready to put together. So very soon you'll see my dad with those other legends on Fathead and have the opportunity. But what's crazy is our age people, I meet corporate CEOs, and I was at our event the other day, and the corporate CEOs, I don't want Patrick Mahomes. I want your dad's Fathead. I grew up.
Yeah, they were the heroes for that generation, So yeah, it's really cool. It's great to see it. I love it.
Well, and here's the other thing, Michele. It's exciting is that Chris has teenage kids, and he really believes in what we're doing with our drug and alcohol program. So we're going to be announcing a partnership moving forward, a long-term partnership. They want to support our drug and alcohol program and our fentanyl program. So I've been very pleased to say that law enforcement. I'm going up to Washington, D.C. in a couple of weeks to meet with the DEA. We've already been talking the last couple of years. But I'll say this, congratulations to President Trump and his administration, because they're very serious about this issue. He truly cares about that we don't see any more of these accidental deaths. And the only way we can do that is to get the information out. And the other thing I wanted to say, too, is if you have parents who are involved in their school district, whether it's a public school or private school, we have a private school program that's a Catholic Christian program. We have a church program for youth groups. We work with boys and girls clubs, with athletic programs through our internet program. So I'm excited to say that if you want to get us in touch with your school district, we will do all the work. All you have to do is go to our website, contact us through soldoutTV.com, and we will send a packet to your superintendent or to your school board or to your principal, because right now our schools are starting to see how serious this is. They realize they need to do something about it, and they're overrun, and many of them are overworked, have a lot on their plates. So we're kind of an angel coming to the table for the schools to bring them an already in place program that they have to do very little work. We do it all for them, and then just provide the execution and train the facilitators.
Well, goodness knows we need more angels. There is no question about that right now. I applaud you and your wife and your whole family, and it's so exciting to think about your dad and what's ahead. Hopefully, it's that gold jacket and all the rest.
Well, I want to tell everybody, Michele, out there, how much I appreciate what you're doing, because you and I met a long time ago when you were at NBC, and we've been at many Super Bowls together. This is 30 for me, I think.
Man.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of an old man for the Super Bowl. I remember, I know you remember this. My first Super Bowl in 1994, do you remember what the landscape was? It was all about newspapers. It was all about television, and the internet wasn't anywhere to be found. There wasn't podcasts or streaming stuff. And I'll tell you a really funny story. You remember CNN's SI Sports, Fred Hickman and Delaney.
Yeah.
So Fred, we've known each other for a long time. And so the first Super Bowl, I was covering it for a local radio station. And if you remember back then, you couldn't send anything over the internet. I mean, it would take 15 minutes. And ISDN lines were brand new. You know, it cost $10,000 to set up. So my first ever report from the Super Bowl, I was doing a live back to North Carolina station, and I had a telephone. And I couldn't find a landline that I could get on. And I had the interviews on tape that I was going to click and hit.
Yeah.
Well, I went upstairs and I saw Fred Hickman, and they were up there just getting finished with their show. And I said, Fred, could I use your telephone to do my report back to the radio station? Fred, yeah, sure. You go ahead and use it. So we've come a long ways in
we
technology.
have come a long way. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we really have. And it's happened so fast. You know, technology is moving at the speed of faster than the speed of sound. It feels like it's advancing, but it is now being put to good use for programs like yours. SoldOutTV.com. Again, you'll find it in the show notes, but SoldOutTV.com. Very important to go to the fentanyl section and find out how you might connect your school, any program at all, with the great Roman Gabriel III. And you can follow him on X and plenty of other places. We'll put all that in the show notes. But Roman, thank you for using your platform for such a positive purpose.
Michele, I appreciate you coming on, and I hope that you'll let me come on when we get my dad in the Hall of Fame and we get this Fathead program going, because my goal is to carry on my dad's legacy. And I want to say this to you. Thank you for the work that you're doing, because it takes a lot of guts to leave something that you've been great at in the sports community, and I know what that transition is like, to go into a political arena like you have to the bigger issues. I congratulate you for your platform and what you're doing, and really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Well, like I say at the end of every podcast, and I'll say it, and hopefully it'll resonate with people, because on this topic in particular, I always say, be brave, do good. So have a little courage today. Maybe go to this website and find out how you can do some good for the kids in your neighborhood, in your communities. And
the other thing too, Michele, is they can go and contact me directly on my email on my website. Parents, if you want our parental program that's password protected, you let me know that you want that parental program, and you get me an email address, and we will send you the parental program, because it will cover everything that you need to know about protecting your children. And you can't start early enough. And when you said courage, Michele, when we talk to parents, I know sometimes you're thinking, if I talk to my kids about drugs and alcohol, they might try drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to talk to them because I'm afraid I might not know everything. Or I don't want to upset the apple cart, because my kid would never do that.
Yeah.
They can make one poor mistake. And I don't want you to be like one of these angel parents who, and the terrible thing, Michele, is that when it happens to an angel parent who didn't know anything about this, they blame themselves. They say, I should have known. And so we don't want you to be in that position. Yeah. We want you to be educated so that you can do everything you can to keep your kids safe. And don't keep it to yourself. Email it to all your friends. It's easy to do. That's not going to put you in a bad position. So have the courage to have the conversation. You know what the cool thing is? We're both parents. I have 2 kids and 6 grandkids. My 6 grandkids are from 6 to 15, so they're in this range. Have a conversation. They will appreciate it. They really will. When they know you love and care enough about them for their safety, they will appreciate it. And I can prove that to you through thousands of responses from students that I've never met face to face who have told me, thank you for educating me.
And thank you for educating us. He is Roman Gabriel III. You can find him on X. Go to, again, the website, which is in the show notes, and soldouttv.com. Thank you, Roman.
And you can find me on Roman Gabriel III on everything out there in social networking. So get involved. We give a lot of information, a lot of fun stuff. And then for your kids, we're not just talking about serious, warning them about drugs. This video life skills program, if you want to hear from some of the top athletes, coaches, celebrities, talking to your kids about cool life skills and character traits that they can learn that's fun and cool on their phones that they can access 24 hours a day, just go to SoldOutTV.com, click on the life skills page, and it's all there for you.
Awesome stuff. Be brave, do good. We'll see you next time.